Hello, welcome. This is Dr. David Frederick Amakobe. I'm a consultant with African Wood Incorporated. African Wood Incorporated are certified international recruiters. We recruit nurses, registered nurses from Kenya and Ghana for placement in U.S. facilities, health facilities, to alleviate the shortage of nurses in the U.S. and also provide jobs for people from Kenya and Ghana. Today I'm going to talk about how to register for the NCLEX exam. We have dealt with the registering for CGFNS, and when you have done with CGFNS, you have to log out. So we've logged out. Now we want to go to a site that you use to register for CGFNS. That site is called Pearson VUE. So Pearson VUE, you go to the NCSBN exam page. You go there, and normally you would create a new account. Okay, so you come here and say you want to create a new account, and there's this information, Pearson VUE privacy policy. You read through it, why they are collecting information, what they are going to do with your data, when they can transfer data to somebody else, when they use CCTV, and when they use the palm vein consent. You have to agree to that. If you don't, you cannot go beyond this. So you have to agree to the privacy. You read this. Like in any other agreement, you have to read it. But this, you have to agree to it though. Because if you don't, you're not going beyond this. So I'll assume that you have read it, because I've read it several times. I know what is there, and I also know that you need to agree to go beyond. So you go beyond. Now, here, you put your name, you put your title. If you're a doctor, you're Mrs., your whatever your name is. And then you put your first name, okay, as it appears on your government-issued ID. Don't put anything else. Don't put your first name last or something like that. The first name, given name, like in my case, to be David. You put it there, okay? And then you put the middle name here, and you put your last name here. You can see, check the stars. Where the star is a required field. Where it isn't, you can miss. You can give it a miss. Okay? So basically, on this page, you only need to put your first name and your last name. All these other things are optional. Then you have to use the same email you used to set up your SGFNS account. So you put them here. I am not going to open this account because I have an account already. So we'll go back, and I'll use the account I have. So after you set up the account, that's how, if you set up the account, it will kick you out, and then you have to sign in. So I have an account and I have a password already put in there. This is my personal computer, so I can make it remember my password. If you're using a public computer, or if you don't keep your computer safe such that somebody else can be able to get access to it, please don't save your passwords on your computer. Go inside. Okay. When you go inside, it tells you to register for the exam. Register or schedule for an exam. Okay? This particular account has an exam already registered, waiting to be scheduled. Okay? But if it didn't have, you'll go and start the registration process. Here, we'll use it. We'll start it. Okay? So you have to pick which exam you want to take. either I'm seeking a license there in the US territory or Canada, or I'm looking to license in Canada. Or the first choice is I am seeking licensure and or registration in the US territory or Australia, or I'm seeking to license in Canada. Let's say, because you are working with North Coast MTC and you have African Wood will place people primarily in the US, so I'll pick the US. But if you want to go to Canada, you can pick the Canada. But African Wood will not help you for licensure in Canada because we have no connections in Canada about licensing, and it's a little far from where we are headquarters, so we don't do licensing in Canada for now. But after we license in Delaware, you can be able to change your license to any territory you want. Okay, so we go there, and then here in this field, this page, it asks you whether you are looking to license as an RN or a practical nurse. Obviously, for our candidates, all of them are seeking to license as a practical nurse. We use the practical nurse for people who have migrated to the US and were what we call community nurses or something like that, some lower, them they can be able to take the practical nurse examination. But if you are still outside the country, the visas are only available for registered nurses and RN, so we go to RN. Okay. Now, with the the information you are being asked to provide, you'll be asked either you give a program number or a country. Let's say in this particular case, we'll just say what country. Let's put Kenya. Okay. Okay. As you see, and it tells you when did you graduate. Pick a date. Say you put your date, the date you graduated. Okay. Obviously, you didn't graduate in 1858. We wouldn't be talking. So assume you graduated in 2014. Okay. And you graduated in October. And then you have to agree to the biometric policies again here. Just make sure. And then you select, being the United States, we need to collect your race information. Most of the people coming from Kenya would be African American, of course. You will remember that, but a few would be Asians and white. But the majority of you, if you're black, you would have to pick African American. We have no other choice there. And then you come here and say where you want to be licensed. If you are working with African Wood Incorporated, you need to pick Delaware. Okay? All right. And after we pick Delaware, we're good. We should have searched here when we put Kenya. So search. And the program for Kenya just comes here. It is actually KE99F000. And location is KEN. Okay? So, again, we start. You come, you put the information, just put the country, search it. The program comes down here. There's no other you want to choose. Then you pick, you decide when you graduated, you decide you are African American or not, and you pick Delaware, and then you go next. Again, the information, the examination policy is there. It tells you, let me read this. Admission policy, NCLEX examination confidentiality. Candidates should be aware and understand that the disclosure of any examination material, including the nature or content of examination items before, during, or after the examination, is a violation of the law. Candidates may not reconstruct exam items using their memory of the exam or the memory of others. Candidates may not copy or reconstruct exam items during or following the exam for any reason. A violation of this can result in a criminal prosecution or civil liability or disciplinary action by the licensing agency, including the denial of license. Note: NCSBCN and your nursing regulatory body strongly discourage bringing any electronic devices to the testing center. According to NCSBN's candidate rules agreement, which you will sign, candidates are prohibited from accessing any electronic devices while at the test center, and you may face disciplinary action from your nursing regulatory body. Candidate must follow the NCLEX examination candidate rules, which are listed there. Acceptance of identification. When you arrive at the test center, you will be required to present one form of acceptable identification. Your identification must match exactly the first and last names you provided when you are registering. If your acceptable ID does not match exactly the first and last name you registered with, you will be turned away and required to re-register and pay another examination fee. If you paid the additional international scheduling fee, that will be forfeited as well. Plan to arrive at the test center at least 30 minutes before your scheduled testing time. If you arrive more than 30 minutes after your scheduled appointment, you may be required to forfeit your NCLEX appointment. All forms of identification must be valid and meet the following requirements. If the ID does not meet these requirements, you will be turned away and required to register and pay again. It must be a government-issued ID. It must not be expired. The name in Roman characters, it has to have a recent signature, a photograph, it must have a signature, and it must be physical, non-digital ID. Examples of acceptable forms of identification for domestic tests are, these are for domestic: passport books and cards, driver licenses, provincial and territorial or state identification cards, permanent residence card, and military card. The only identification acceptable for international testing centers, including Puerto Rico, are passport books and cards. If your ID does not contain a signature but meets all other ID requirements listed above, you must bring a secondary form of identification to the test center. The signature on your secondary ID must match exactly with the first and last name on your primary ID, with the names that you provided when you registered. The secondary identification must contain a signature in Roman numbers. For candidates seeking licensure in the US and Australia, domestic test centers are those within the US and the American Samoa, Northern Mariana, in Ireland, and the US Island. For candidates seeking licensure registration in Canada, domestic centers are those within Canadian provinces and territories, and the mainland US, not including territories. All other test centers, including Puerto Rico, are international. Please note, identification from embargoed countries will not be accepted at the test centers. For further information, please contact Pearson VUE at one of the phone numbers listed. You will be admitted to the examinations. You will not be admitted to the examination center without the proper identification. If you arrive without proper identification, you will be required to re-register and pay another examination fee. If you have any questions about your registration, please contact NCLEX Candidate Service there. Rescheduling policy. Important. Registration cannot be cancelled, and there will be no refund of registration fee for any reason. Changes to examination appointment time, dates, and location must be made at least one full business day before your scheduled exam. Cancellation, none. You cannot cancel the exam. Additional information, read the candidate bulletin, study the test plans, learn about the computer adaptive testing, take the NCLEX tutorial to familiarize yourself with the different NCLEX types and computer software. Verify that your first and last name on your acceptable ID match exactly with the first and last printed on your ATT email. I read this continuously because most of the time people just cross it and they don't read it. It's important that you know what you are signing, and that's important for now. So after that, you agree, you sign here, you click here as agreeing to that, we go. And there we go, okay? Now we are ready. It's there. For this particular thing, you are supposed to, they are supposed to pay 200. We're not going to pay it because you just, the thing will just be putting, or you have to put the payment and it's done. This, you can open this account and pay. It takes a year. But what we recommend is that you wait until your credentials have been approved by CGFNS before you come to Pearson VUE to pay for the exam. And after you have opened the Pearson VUE account and paid for it, you will be now required to go to open a license application with the state of Delaware. Now we go to the state of Delaware. Delaware professional licenses. Okay, we'll go Delaware later. That's it. That is it. You come here. Next. That's it. It's ready for payment. You put your payment and you're done. Now, since we're not going to pay, we're going to leave it here and just go to move it. Yes. You don't want that? Okay. You return to the dashboard. We cancel this because there is another exam already there. Thank you very much. That's Pearson VUE. We will make another short video for the state of Delaware.